Hi everyone. It's great to see you again. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Today, we have a brand new story to share with you. So, let's get started. When I got home that night, I didn't think anything strange would happen. As usual, I put my keys on the table, loosen my tie, and maybe fall asleep on the couch for a while before deciding what to make for dinner. But something didn't feel right when I walked in. I couldn't quite place the look on her face as she stood in the kitchen with her arms crossed. Not madness or sadness. Make it colder. She said, "Let's talk." That term was never a good thing. I sighed and got ready. Okay, then. She took a deep breath, as if getting ready to give a well-rehearsed speech. Then she told the truth. "You have to work for my love." While I tried to understand what I had just heard, I stood there for a second. What? It didn't make sense to me, so I asked. She said in a clear voice, "You heard me. I don't feel the same way I used to. Something is missing, and I need to feel that spark again. I'm not sure if it's you or me. You have to earn my love if you want it." You could tell it was a smart thing for her to say. It was like she had just made a new rule for the house. Not hard at all, just pick someone to take out the trash. Looked at her for any clue that this wasn't what it seemed like, a joke, a test, or something else. That didn't change her mind. Earn it? When I said it again, my voice got louder. In other words, how? She gave a shrug. You decide. My choice. Now let me make this clear. I had to figure out what she wanted, show that I was worthy, and find a way to get her back. As though I were a contestant on a game show, begging her to like me. I was going to fight, but I held my tongue. I had to think about it. As soon as I got angry, she changed into someone else. So I was careful with the words I used. Is this how you see me now? As someone who has to beat you to your attention? She let out a clear, annoyed breath. Okay, I don't know. I know I don't feel the same way I used to, and I don't want to try to make myself feel that way. I need more. I didn't miss what she told me I needed. It was never about us. It was about what she wanted, how she felt, and how happy she was. I remembered everything I had done for this relationship. The things I gave up, the deals I made, and the times I forgot about what I wanted to make things easier for her. And all of a sudden, it wasn't enough. I had to prove myself now. There was a change inside me. Before now, I could have walked right into the trap. I think I did everything I could to figure out how to get her back. But as I stood there and looked at the blank look on her face, I finally understood what was going on. It wasn't about a rough patch. It wasn't about us. It was a move of power. She told me to go after her. I felt like I had to fight for her because she was a prize. I didn't say anything right away. Just a slow nod, like I was thinking about what she said. But I knew deep down. It wasn't about improving anything during this talk. That's when I knew I could no longer follow her rules. The first thing I noticed was how at ease she looked after giving me that choice. She wasn't worried about how I would respond. She didn't seem to care that I might leave. The way she carried herself made me think she was pretty sure of herself and thought I would follow suit. That was the first sign. I chose not to answer the way she wanted. I didn't chase, I just watched. It was quiet for the first few days. She said some small things, as if she were testing the water. She told me over coffee one morning, "You used to surprise me more." I agreed, but I didn't say anything. That night, she was sitting on the couch across from me and scrolling through her phone. After a short time, she let out a huge sigh. You know, I just want to feel excited again. Like at the start. I still didn't give anything. She started to push harder after that. At first, she talked about me in terms of other guys as if it were normal conversation. A coworker of mine planned this great weekend trip for his wife. That's so sweet. It was clear to me what it was. Bait. She wanted someone to answer. She also talked about a friend whose boyfriend always did little things to show she cared about her. I didn't want to bite. The more I didn't say anything, the madder she got. It was clear in her eyes. I had to prove something to her. She made me feel like I had to do something good to earn her favor. That game wasn't for me, though. The real test then came. She dressed up one night for a night out with the girls. Not a strange thing there. She used to hang out with her friends. She stood in front of the mirror longer than normal this time, checking herself from different angles to make sure I saw. She thought for a moment as she walked by me to get her bag. She said, "I don't know what time I'll be back. I might stay out late." She looked at me. She wanted me to respond, to ask her who she was going with and where she was going, and maybe even to be a little jealous of her. I drank a little of my drink. "Enjoy yourself." I could see a hint of anger in her eyes before she turned away. More and more, it was becoming clear. This had nothing to do with us or fixing anything. She was seeing how much power she had over me, and the more I didn't cooperate, the angrier she got. I stopped responding at all. At first, it was hard. There was a strong urge in me to tell her I saw through what she was doing and to call her out on it. However, I knew that was exactly what she wanted, some kind of emotional outburst, to show that she was still in charge. That's why I didn't give her anything. Like nothing had changed, I went about my day. I put more effort into my work, went to the gym more often, and even started doing things I had put off for years. I was at home, but I wasn't really there. I wasn't cold. I didn't act mean. I wasn't interested. After that, things began to change. She seemed happy with the silence at first. She thought I was giving her time to miss me and understand what she wanted. However, as the days went by and I still hadn't chased her, she began to lose faith in herself. She spoke up one night while she was scrolling through her phone on the couch. "You no longer ask me about my day." I gave a shrug. "It looks like you don't want to tell me." She frowned as if she didn't think that answer would come up. More light shone on the small test. When she went out, she would make sure to talk about how much fun she was having and how free she felt. I would just nod and keep doing what I was doing, which wasn't what she wanted. After that, she dressed up more, even when she wasn't going anywhere important. She would stand in the doorway as she left, waiting for me to tell her how beautiful she was and make her feel good about herself. I wouldn't, though. When that happened, fear began to spread. There was one night when she got home later than usual. I was making a late dinner for myself in the kitchen. The way she dropped her bag was a bit too loud, like she was trying to get my attention. "Didn't you see how late it is?" Her voice was rougher than before when she asked. I looked at the time. "Yes." She put her arms together. "That doesn't bother you?" I took a bite of my food. "Should it?" She clenched her jaw and her eyes got red as she changed. I saw it happen in real time. Things weren't going the way she planned. She was losing her cool. She thought she could get me to compete with her and show her how valuable I was, like a desperate boyfriend trying to keep her interested. But as soon as I stopped playing, the balance of power changed totally. She wasn't the prize. She was just trying to see how far I could go. And I finally decided that they would no longer be tried. Everything changed when she found out I wasn't going along with it. At first, she tried to ignore it, acting like my lack of interest didn't bother her. But I could see that cracks were appearing. How she looked at me briefly when she thought I wasn't paying attention. The way she paused before leaving the house, like she thought I would stop her. She seemed to be more aware of my loss all of a sudden, even though I was right there with her. After that, she tried to get me back. She began by doing small things she hadn't done in a long time. She used to make me coffee before things got bad, so she did it one morning. She put the cup down in front of me and said, "Here, made it your way." She made me a drink, and I thanked her. Then I went back to being busy. Not a big deal. I wasn't told that she knew I saw what she was doing. Just an easy, nice answer. She thought that wasn't enough. After a few days, she suggested we watch a movie. She added as she carefully watched me, like we used to. I agreed, but it wasn't a big deal to me. We watched the movie together. I didn't reach out for her hand or lean into her, though, and I didn't try to make it more than that. Her plan was for me to act like I used to in order for her to catch me. I didn't. The anger really started to show at that point. While we were sitting in the living room one night, she said out loud, "Do you even care anymore?" I took my eye off my phone. "What is it about?" She crossed her arms and said, "About us. You're not the same." I leaned back in my chair and thought about what she said. "Not the same way." She laughed. "I'm sure you understand." "You don't." She bit her lip and stopped herself. She then let out a sigh. "You are not the same person you used to be. You no longer even try." After letting that sink in for a second, I spoke up. "I may have done it because I knew I didn't need to." She narrowed her eyes. "What do you think that means?" I didn't answer right away. I looked at her instead, noticing how her shoulders were tense and how she was holding on to the edge of the couch. Finally, I said, "It means I now see things differently." She spoke, then shut her mouth again. This was a new side of me for her. The one who wasn't trying so hard to meet her standards and prove himself all the time. She didn't like it. I could see that she was upset. On the one hand, she wanted to keep up the act to stay ahead. On the other hand, she was becoming aware of something scary. I was leaving her. And she was the one who felt uncertain for the first time. She knew it was going to be gone soon. I was always having to prove myself because she had control, power, and a dynamic. I could see fear in her eyes for the first time. There was no fear that she would lose me. She was afraid of losing the me that used to want to chase her. That night, after we talked in the living room, she was even more desperate. It wasn't really asking. She was too proud to do that. The change was clear, though. She became too friendly in ways that seemed forced. She gave hugs, touches, and smiles that she hadn't given in months. But it didn't feel real at all. It wasn't love. It wasn't real work. It was deception that looked like love. I could see right through it all. She came into my bedroom one night as I was getting ready for bed. She thought for a moment in the doorway before coming over and sitting on the edge of the bed next to me. "May I talk?" she asked, but her voice wasn't as loud as normal. I put down my phone and said, "Yes. Yes." She looked at her hands. "This is not what I want." "What kind of way?" I asked. She took a deep breath and then looked at me. "It seems like you're pulling away." I gave a slow nod. "I might be." The truth made her flinch. "Why?" I took a big breath and thought about what I was going to say. I said, "Because I finally understand what's been going on, and I'm done playing along." It looked like she wanted to say it wasn't true, fight, or change the story. I didn't let her, though. "You put me in a position where I had to fight for something that should have been fair for both of us," I said. "You made me feel like I had to prove myself over and over again in order to get that little bit from you. I let it happen because I thought love was like that." She turned her head away. "I didn't mean to do that. I cut you off, it doesn't matter what you meant. What you did is what counts. You're only trying now that you know I'm not going to keep after you." She got angry and tears filled her eyes. "It's not fair." I laughed for a short time. "Fair," I said again. Was it fair that I showed up every day for this marriage while you kept changing the finish line? She didn't say anything. My arms were on my knees as I leaned forward. This is the truth. You wanted power. You wanted me to work hard for you and feel like I had to earn your love. I did that for a long time, but I'm done now. Her face turned pale. That's it, right? I looked into her eyes. And I felt totally at peace for the first time in this whole ordeal. I said, that's it. She didn't try to stop me. I thought she would put up more of a fight, negotiate more, and maybe even try to turn things around in her favor. When I told her I was done, she just sat there and stared at the floor, as if she was thinking about something she never thought would happen. She might have thought I'd give up at the last minute, that I'd change my mind and decide it was worth it to fight for her. But the truth was that I was done fighting. And I had to fight for myself alone right now. I put together a bag that night. As she stood by the door and watched me, she didn't say anything. There wasn't any anger or pleading, there was just a quiet lack of trust, as if they had finally understood. I was no longer the one being chased. I stopped at the door and looked at her one last time before I left. Sometimes I would have given anything to keep what we had and make things better. Now, though, I only felt calm. I hope you find what you need, I told them. She opened her mouth as if she had something to say, but nothing came out. I left without looking back. It was strange for the first few days. It wasn't painful or sad, it was just quiet. I thought I would feel lost and like I had given up on something I should have kept working for. Not at all. I felt lighter, like I had finally let go of a weight I didn't even know I was holding. I paid attention to myself. I began to spend more time on hobbies I had neglected and friendships I had let fall by the wayside. I also did easy things like going for a walk without feeling rushed or like I needed to prove something. I felt like myself again for the first time in a long time. She tried to get in touch with me a few times, but she never asked me to come back. Instead, her texts were clearly meant to get a response. I hope all is well with you. This is where I found one of your shirts. Would you like to pick it up? Let's talk. Even though I wasn't mad or angry, I never replied. I just didn't see any reason to. I didn't want to read the part again because it was over. And that's the thing about leaving something bad behind. You don't miss the person. You miss the thought of what it might have been. While it's true that it was never truly yours, you no longer feel the need to hold on to it. I wasn't angry. I didn't feel angry. I was just free. That was enough. Our story is over. Do you want to join our group if you've made it this far? It really helps us a lot. I've picked out 2 more videos that I think you'll enjoy. You are welcome to click on them. I look forward to seeing you in the next story. Have a nice day.